Well, good morning. Could I, if you are so inclined, could I just ask, kind of move up a little closer to me? Because I'm going to be very interactive with you, I think, this morning. A hilarious side note to this morning is that I've not actually preached in years. So I've got folks back in Vermont who are sitting watching their computer screens right now with a big smile on their face because they want to see how I'm going to do. Yeah, things are quite different at Beth Towb in Rutland than last time I was here. It's been a long time, years. And so I'm here with a little bit of trepidation because I don't know how this is going to go, but it's going to go good. Yeah. You know how I know it's going to go good? Because you love me. And that's what people kept saying to me, you know. I don't ever want to go backwards. I don't want to go back to things that used to be. And yet it's hard sometimes when you've been on a journey and you've experienced things that that you didn't previously know or understand. When you come forward in time and you have an opportunity to kind of share those things, some of them are hard to put into words and articulate. And so, but thank you for loving me. Like I was just standing over against the wall and I was thinking how much I miss you. I mean that. So, let's do this together. Just want to have a conversation. So it was, I don't know if it was the last time I was here or the time before that I had, well, let me just say something about where I've come from with my preaching. A lot of what I did 4 or 5 years ago was out of my soul. It was soul to soul. And I was really good at it. Probably still am. But as we untethered from the things that I talked about maybe the last time I was here, there was almost immediate recognition that a lot of what I was doing, and I'm not applying this to anybody else except my experience and my people's experience, a lot of it was soulish. And so if it made my soul feel good or if it made my soul feel challenged, and it wasn't just preaching, it was worship, it was everything, then I attributed that to a spiritual experience. And being able to separate in your mind the soul from the spirit, you know, there's that scripture that says that Yahweh's word is sharp even to the dividing of the soul and the spirit. That's a huge, huge revelation. And the application of that takes you to places that are crazy. And I've been to those places. And I'm going to more of them. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about this morning. If I say something that's wrong or offensive, Steve will take care of that. Still... He has no problem dealing with that. I know you guys haven't noticed that. One of the things I love most about him. The nature of our personalities, it's a little bit weird that we're as close as we are and as compatible as we are. And people were betting when we first met and developed a friendship how long that would last. And here we are like 20 years later. And he has no trouble setting the record straight. So that gives me some peace and comfort in what I'm going to share. So I just won't watch that live stream. Or maybe I will. And then I'll make a phone call. And you guys would like what that looked like. But so, you know, the I don't know, was it 4 or 5 years ago that I came and I spoke a message on being untethered. And I know some of you weren't here. How many of you remember that? Okay. And I challenged Steve. By the way, it's still hard for me to call him Steve. I want to say Apostle Steve, but I also want to honor him. And I do understand his revelation, and I honor his revelation about that. But I do have a title for him. We'll see if it sticks or not. Because I kind of search in my mind when I say, Steve, you're, I don't know how to fill that in. How do you guys fill it in? Steve is your visionary. Okay, and I like that a lot. I'm not replacing that. But here's an alternative, okay? How about Steve, you're ATTEP? ATTEP. It's an acronym. See who figures it out. A-T-P-E-P. APTEP. I'm sorry, A-P-T-E-P. A-P-T. Apostle, prophet, teacher, evangelist, prophet, pastor, whatever. You guys get it? Yeah. APTEP Steve. Steve, you're APTEP. Is that all right? He's all that. I don't know how to get the V in there. Can anybody get the V in there? Silent. I guess you could do a kind of a German thing. Steve V. APTEP. V instead of the. So let me start with this. And I read this to you maybe the last time I was here. What I'd like to do is just share a little bit about our journey, a little bit about where we're at today and some of the revelation that we have kind of picked up on along the way. If I was to bring you to Beth Towb and take you into a meeting, it would be very, very bizarre. In fact, it's so bizarre, and I may have said this when I was here before, but we have closed our services. They're not open to the public. Now, we did have an open service and a closed service, but the open service, after a while, everybody just wanted to be in the closed service, and I've never had so many people interested in coming to Beth Towb until I closed a service and said, you can't come. And everybody's like, wait, what? And it's fun to tell people when they feel like you're always like, we're really good at always putting a hook in the bait, right? So we offer something, but there's always a catch in it. And so people get very interested when I'm doing an event or something, and they're a little leery of what we're doing, and they say something about that, and I say, no, we're not trying to catch you. You can't even come to what we do. Now they're interested. Now they want to know, is there a pathway? Finding that pathway and bringing that to a place of fruition has been one of the most difficult tasks that I've had on this journey. But the people who have made that journey to what we're doing now are amazing. And they are, we had young people leave because they said, we're not ever going to be able to have a spouse that will come here. It's too weird. It's too bizarre. I mean, some of my early journey in just opening up to the Holy Spirit was coming to an understanding that Yahweh does weird stuff. His ways are not our ways. I've never been more certain of that than I am right now. We put him in a box. How big is he to you? I want to get into that in just a second, but how big is he to you? Because it was your APTEP that I first heard say, if you think God lives in heaven, your God is way too small. Heaven, this is his words, heaven lives in Yahweh. I'll get into that in just a minute. But this was the writing that I shared. I know I've shared this here before. And I don't know how many of you were here. Again, I asked about the untethered message. I don't need to get into details on that, but there were things that I was tethered to that Yahweh just said to me, unless you untether from these things, unless you untie from them, you can't go to the places I want to take you to, nor can you know the things I want to show you. And they were sacred things to me. And so I came and I shared and I challenged your APTEP. I challenged Steve. But here's what my confession, that was very selfish of me, because that wasn't his journey. And I put him in a spot where I said, come with me. I challenge you to come with me. But it wasn't his journey. And that's why this is a safe place, because he's not just, he's going to do what he's supposed to do, and he has done what he's supposed to do. But I went. And it was selfish because I wanted his company and I wanted your company. I wanted somebody else to point a finger to when things went south. When people are standing around staring at me going, what is this? And I said, oh, Steve did that. And so I've shared along the way, just to give you a broad sketch. I'll get into a little more detail in this, but like we haven't worshiped with words, done music worship with words in probably 4 years. The part of what I'll share in a minute is just the limitations of the spoken language. They're very limiting in a lot of ways. And so as we walked that out, it was pretty soon that those kind of things during our worship fell away and very strange things took their place. But basically, what took their place was vocalizations, movements, artwork, and instrumentation. Those are the 4 things that we will see. Now, we haven't had a worship session in over a year because of the COVID situation, which is weird, right? It's weird. I'm just going to throw this out there, and I want you to think about it. It's going to be a standalone. But if your peace is based on predictability, you're in trouble. The unpredictability that COVID brought to us, COVID's going away, I believe. I don't have a word on that. But the unpredictability is not going away. Right. Yeah. And COVID came with a purpose. Amen. I never looked at it as an enemy. Right. This didn't happen. But what I told our people at the beginning, I said, I hope it touches every one of us. And I hope it gives us the antibodies we need without harming our body. It didn't happen, but that would have been my preferred thing, that nobody gets sick, but everybody get touched by it. Because Yahweh's in everything in the earth. That's right. The Kabbalists would say Yahweh is everything in the earth. You guys know what a Kabbalist? So that's Kabbalists. We've learned a lot from that. It's ancient Jewish mysticism. Don't let that word scare you. Almost everybody here is a mystic, by definition. Has anybody ever heard a personal word from Yahweh? Raise your hand. Okay, you're mystics. A mystic is just somebody that receives information from a different dimension. If you ever had a vision, if you ever had a word, you're a mystic. And this is hilarious. When I was talking about this one morning in my house, because my parents are there. Hi, Mom and Dad. And so mystic has always been demonic, the enemy, right? So I started talking about mysticism, and my mom, I could tell, she was struggling with it a little bit. And I was like, I don't remember exactly how that went, but I'm like, Mom, you okay? And she's like, well, I just always felt like mysticism this way. And I kind of set her up a little bit. So I had the definition queued up on the projector. So I said, put it up. And it went up on the wall, and she looked at it, and she said, well, I've been a mystic for 35 years. So I'm very intrigued by, these would have been people of the Jewish faith who believed that they still had information to receive from the Spirit of Yahweh, not just from the letter of the law. Very intrigued by what they saw. Doesn't mean it's all truth, but I want to look at it. I want to understand it. This is probably something I never would have looked at had I not untethered. But as I began to look into that, I began to realize how big their understanding of Yahweh is. Too big for the mind to understand. How much of Yahweh is in everything. It changes the way you treat things. See, the arrogance of man is, I'm almost preaching here, hold on. the, the arrogance of man is this, like Yahweh is in me. By the time I'm through, it has changed, let me say it this way, it has changed the way I look at everything. Now the Kabbalists would say that Yahweh is in everything. And the rabbi that I was first listening to about this, let me tell you how this happened. So, when we untethered, we just went with where our spirit was taking us, week to week. And I say us, because I don't come anymore with something to teach. I come with something that I've already released to the people that we're going to have a conversation about. So they've been spending 3 or 4 days. They'll get a video midweek from me. We play, during COVID, I did all kinds of crazy things just to lighten things up. So, like for a while, I did undisclosed location videos. And whoever guessed it got to go out for a meal and in another undisclosed location. And we would do the video from there. All of those kind of things. But our folks will get a video midweek, and I'll say, and they'll have an assignment for a meditation, and then they'll have a discussion assignment. And I'll say, here's what we're going to be talking about, so I want you to be ready to think of it. And then I come, and then we talk about it, and I learn as I teach. Everybody there kind of has a different take or idea. It's very interesting to me, the similarities of people, of what has been revealed to them in that discussion question. I can't remember where I started with that. I know I was getting ready to preach a little bit. What was I preaching about, man? What's that? Yeah. So the whole concept that. I know what it was. So there's points at time where you go, where are we? Like, where are we, and what is this? I don't know. I've not seen this before. I've not been here before. And is there anything out there that looks like this? And during one of those times, Bethany's husband, who is one of the people who have come to us, who is amazing. You guys all know Bethany, right? Yeah. You guys know Bethany? Yeah. Leon, he's amazing, right? Leon's amazing. Love him. But he studied very spiritually. He studied everything in spirituality. But he came in one day, he's like, Apostle, do you know anything about Kabbalism? I'm like, no, I think that's demonic, probably. What is it? He said, well, it was Jewish folks who believed, like you do, by the way, that they could have a revelation of Yahweh's Spirit in ancient times. And he said, regardless of how you look at that, he said, you're just like them. Like, our belief system is very similar to what they believe. And then I was talking to Natalie about 3 days later. She's like, Apostle, do you know anything about Kabbalism? I said, you and Leon are talking, right? Like, she said, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, I just heard a Rabbi Kushner, talking on being or something on NPR. And she said, he sounds like a lot like us. And so I started listening, doing some reading, the Kabbalah. Some things I understand, most of it I don't understand. Someday, hopefully, I'll be at a level of enlightenment where I can understand. But one of the things that Rabbi Kushner talks about is just understanding the Spirit of Yahweh is in everything. He said that gets challenging when you're talking about dog poop. That is a challenge. But what they would say is, the Spirit of Yahweh is in everything. It's your job to find it. Does that strike a chord with anybody? It changes everything. It changes the way you look at everything. It changes the way you treat everything. And then when you begin to get that understanding, you can get lost in a flower. When you begin to, if you, and I'm not trying to push any belief system on you. I'm just telling you where we're at, okay? So please feel free to reject anything I say. It's all right to be wrong. So. But when you begin to understand that everything is a unique expression of the Spirit of Yahweh, it's crazy how that changes the way you look and interact, especially with the earth. One more interesting thing. The other thing that has become very interesting to me in this journey is, now some of you are gonna have a block come up when I say this, but I started hearing a lady, I can't remember her name right now. If you ask me later, I'll get it for you. But she was a Native American botanist that teaches at SUNY University in Schenectady. And she started talking about the spiritual nature of the earth, and I became very interested in how Native Americans looked at the earth and the spirituality of the earth. And I've always just thought, well, they just worship trees and things like that. They did not. And so we played part of an interview in one of my meetings that she did, again, on being, I believe. And our people got very interested in it. Some of them went on to study more. She has a book called Braiding Sweetgrass. And one day I was driving somewhere, and Tara, you guys know Tara Moyer? She called me. She said, Apostle, you're not going to believe this. She said, do you know, in the ancient language of Potawatomi, they believe a language as ancient as Hebrew. It's North American, mainly up in the Michigan, the Great Lakes area. I believe, something I read or heard, there are only 12 or 15 people that still speak that language fluently in the whole earth. It's almost completely lost. But she called me and she said, do you know what they called the Creator? I said, what? She said, they called him Yahweh. And everything that was created, they called Yahweh. So I started comparing. Now, they didn't spell it the same way. They spelled it Y-A-W-E. But Yahweh, that's what it sounds like. This is emotional for me. That struck me so deep. Like, how's that possible? Now there's theories, because other people know this, that the Jewish people called him Yahweh, and then folks in North America who had no connection called him Yahweh. And as I started looking into it deeper, I was sitting on my boat one day, and I was reading about it and the connection between the Jewish people and their God and the Native American people and the way they interface with Yahweh. And the realization came to me that we killed them for that. Did you know that it was illegal for Indians to worship in their traditional ways until just a little while ago? And when you compare the Kabbalist perspective with the Native American perspective on Yahweh, it's almost exactly the same. And I'm in my boat, and in this realization that Christianity, particularly where I live, did things like putting viruses in blankets and giving the Indians blankets so it would kill them. So they'd wrap their babies up in these blankets, and it was seeded with virus to kill them. And I realized how insidious the religious spirit is in destroying every other thing. Listen, religion is the Babylonian expression of spirituality. And it tries to kill everything that doesn't fit in its box. And so, I don't cry. Like my wife says, you can ask her, she'll say, I never see him cry. And I'm sitting in the boat, and this realization hit me that the spirit of religion and Christianity tried to destroy these people who had a more intimate understanding of Yahweh in all things, the Creator in all things, whom they called Yahweh. I started sobbing. And it's surprised. You ever start crying and it surprises you? And you don't like it. You're like, what is this? And why am I doing this? This is really strange. I mean, I'm out in my boat. We have 4 sunny days that are above 80 degrees. It snowed 2 days ago in my house. You only have this short window. You get the motorcycle out, you get the boat out, you get them in the water, you go down the road. You're like, it's 40 degrees out. And you're out there with T-shirts and shorts on. And I'm in my boat and I'm sobbing. And it wouldn't go away. It was that deep thing, comes from way down inside. We tried to destroy these people because of their worship of Yahweh. How big? How big? Let me read this to you again. I don't know how long I'll be, or it might be short, but I'd like to, can I just at times just stop and listen to you? Like if you have a question or a thought or a revelation, can I just listen to you? I really want that back and forth. Is that all right? Yes. Anybody? Does anybody have a thought? You don't have to, but I would really, don't miss a thought that might help me say something I'm supposed to say. Anybody? Question, thought, idea? Yes.
I wanted to thank you for speaking about the Native American culture. It's something that's drawn me for many years. And next week I'll be moving to New Mexico for the summer to work with Native American women.
Gosh.
And I'm just happy to hear you say that, because I know that there's something in me drawn to them. And I just appreciate you releasing that today.
I love that. And I can't wait for you to teach me what you learn. Yeah. And if I could say something to you. Now, I'm not like, in this journey I've learned there is good and bad in the spirit realm. Right. But your spirit knows. Yeah. Right. So your spirit is, Apostle Paul would say all the time, like Scripture never says use Scripture to judge. It says use your spirit to judge. And so, there's times and places where I just know, like I'm not touching that. I'm not messing with that. That's something that's not. But as my acceptance of the fact that Yahweh is in all things, that he's that big of a God, which I feel safe saying because you're apostle, or you're Aptep. He was an apostle then, so I get a pass on that one. He's the one that I first heard talk about that concept. It's stuck in my mind. Like, if you put God in heaven, God is too small. And so, a lot of what I judge is just from my spirit. A lot of where I go in my thinking and what I'm shown is just where my spirit is taking me. And I challenge you just to use that opportunity to connect with what is there that might be relevant to your understanding and revelation of Yahweh. Does that shock anybody that they called him Yahweh? Did anybody know that, first of all? No. I don't know. There might be the 16th person here that speaks Potawatomi. So, like, I found another one. Somebody else? Anybody have a thought? Or okay. All right. I may just call on you. So, here's the teaching that I've been trying to get to ever since I stood up here. I mean, the writing. Now, this I've been working on a book for about 20 years, and my revelation keeps changing. So, and I think I've told you that, but and now I don't even want to publish the book that I wrote. It's irrelevant. I think. As soon as I say that, I'll say publish it. Because I finished it once, and he said, put it away, you'll get stuck. It's a great revelation, but you'll get stuck. Everybody wants you to come talk about that. Like, we got to keep moving. There's stuff I want to show you. So that was the first time, and now, So you guys remember this, the construct of the mind? Okay, I don't expect that you would, but if you do, some of you might remember it when I start to read it. But this beginning to this chapter, I struggled so much with, like writing stuff that I hated. Does anybody here write? Right? You ever write and you're just like, that's horrible. Like, I got to be smarter than, I got to be better than this somehow. There's got to be something in me that's better than what I just wrote down. I mean, I'm talking weeks and weeks and weeks of just trying to write the beginning of this chapter on the construct of the mind. And I was driving into Rutland. I live up on a mountain, and I drive down this beautiful road called Cold River Road because it runs next to a cold river. And I was driving down, and I was just like so frustrated. And Yahweh spoke to me. So let me show you something. Let me show you the difference between writing out of your mind and writing out of your intellect and writing in an inspired way out of your spirit. And I pulled over and I wrote this down, and it has become absolutely pivotal to everything we're doing now. But this is the construct of the mind. The room is triangular, as is the table within it. Seen from above, the flat edges of the table are perfectly aligned with each corner of the room, a triangle inside of a triangle. in one corner there is a portal. That's really important, more important now than when I wrote it, because now I understand much better. I didn't understand any of this when I wrote it. So 3 figures sit at the table seemingly engaged in a deep conversation. One is loud and animated. His hands seem to have a mind of their own as they flit about his ample belly. He has a large face which radiates emotion and energy, alternating between joy, anger, and at times melancholy. For better or worse, his presence often dominates the room. To his left, a figure is almost entirely his opposite. Extremely thin, with a bespectacled face and a rigid demeanor, he fairly radiates logic and precision. His 3-piece suit is tailored, his shirt starched, his face pinched and impatient as a persistent tick counts time under his eye. Others are extreme while he is measured, animated while he is calculated. Oil and water, logic versus emotion. The 3rd figure is simultaneously compelling and subdued. He is a giant of a man without any trace of fleshiness on his taut frame. Muscles ripple and jump at every subtle movement of his body. Yet as captivating as his physique is the eyes that immediately command one's attention. The irises are the pale blue of fresh ice on a northern lake. The natural blue of the eyes are set in a radiant blaze of intensity. Fire and ice set in a broad and handsome face. For all the strength and restrained energy, he is strangely quiet. It has been his long experience that his voice is seldom recognized and his opinions rarely considered. The portal is located in the corner that he occupies. He spends much of his time staring through it, seeing things that only he is equipped to see. He has understanding that the other 2 can never comprehend, yet they still will not listen. He is patient. He can wait. This is the mind, the single most important place in the human condition. Every decision made, every direction taken, every success and every failure will emanate from this room. The 3 constant players at the table are called soul, intellect, and spirit. So when I start talking about the enormity of Yahweh, and I say that your mind and my mind is a box, what we have to be able to do, and what I'm trying to accomplish with a group of people, is to get outside my mind to know Yahweh. That's what the Spirit that does occupy a place in your mind is always looking out that portal. To navigate life, to navigate the earth, not just naturally, but spiritually. To let worship become spirit. To let relationships become spirit. Yeah. Let me just let that set for a second. Because these are some of the things we've experienced on this journey. Let me, and I think I've said some of this here before, but bear with me if you've heard this, if this is redundant. What I really want to understand is what happened to Cain. The curse of Cain is hugely important to understanding the human condition as it is today. The way we interact with each other and the way we interact with the earth. Because he killed his brother, and Yahweh came and cursed him. And he said, I curse you from the panim of the earth, the face of the earth. And it's Cain's response. If you have a chance, look at it. That's startling. And he said, you're going to be an outcast. You're going to be a loner the rest of your life. You're going to be a vagabond in the earth. And Cain says, Yahweh, you can't do that because everybody who sees me will try and kill me. And then he says before, I don't know where in the text he says this, he says, you have cut me off from your panim. He saw the panim, or the face, the presence of the earth and the presence of Yahweh is the same thing. So here's what happened when man was removed from the garden? What happened to Cain when he was cursed and separated from... See, he saw no distinction between his connection to Eretz, which is the earth, and his connection to Yahweh. So I believe there was a place in the garden. It was a dimensional place where the connection of man to the earth was so complete that earth provided spiritually everything man needed. So when Adam and Eve were cursed, they said, now you're going to have to work for it. Can I get weird? Like, I've been weird places, okay? And sometimes I've bumped into Apostle Aaron in those places. And one of those places, do you guys know what a breathologist is? All right, this is really weird. Okay, this is Aaron. Okay, this is Aaron saying, this is my thing. I'm just sharing what his thing is, because he had one of them come speak. You can look this up. These are people who claim, and the man he had has been studied scientifically, that they don't need to eat in order to live, that they draw their sustenance from the earth. Go out to Nepal, out those places to the Far East, and you'll find these people. And this guy, who Aaron said he can eat it if he wants to, and there's all kinds of information. I don't have his name, but you can go ask Aaron. But they believe that was an original condition of man that the earth provided for them in a spiritual way, in a dimensional way. And so when the curse came, you know, there's angels guarding the garden, which is a dimensional place. My thing has always been, is there somebody they'll let pass? Is there somebody that qualifies to get past and get back to that place of oneness and joining with Yahweh? That intimacy with Yahweh. I'm sure people have died trying. I don't take it lightly. Angels kill folks. I tell our folks, like my primary angel's name's Guido, okay? Not Gabriel, it's Guido. And I've seen, like, my people will say, we'll see something happen, somebody will be opposing me or doing something that is fine, and something will happen, and they'll go, Guido. So when they were cursed from the garden, there was angels set to guard it. Like, who is that person that's going to make their way back there? And how does that have strategic importance in the earth? Because everything I do, because I believe Yahweh is a strategic God. A lot of people who've come my way, the things that I'm experiencing, the things that we are doing together at Beth Towb, a lot of that, just like the strategic purpose is just experiential. I want to have an experience. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in engaging in a way that allows me to change what needs to be changed in the earth according to Yahweh's purpose. And what I've learned, if you are about your own purpose, don't even try. Because Yahweh's not interested in that. You have to die to self. You have to be empty of self. You have to exist solely for the purpose of Yahweh and why he created you. And so there's incredible strategic value in how we interact with each other. Like true oneness has to be by the Spirit. That's the only way true oneness can ever be expressed, is spirit to spirit. So if I look back, I would say, like, this journey for me has been about trying to get outside and get Yahweh outside the boxes of theology and thinking and conceptual things, so that I can know him in a different place, so that I can be empowered in a different way. And so let me just tell you a little bit about what that journey looked like, okay? There was a morning where I had a revelation about worship. And I think at that time we had 5 different worship leaders, or 4. And same band pretty much every week, but each person would take a week, and that would be their week, and they would come with something. And sometimes it was good, sometimes it was bad, sometimes I liked it, sometimes I didn't like it. And it struck me one day, I'm like, I expect these people to come and present something that they're inspired by every single time they step on that stage. And if they're not inspired, I put them in a position to be fake. And to try, and I could see it when it was happening. Worship leaders here are going to go, oh yeah, I've been there. Like, I've got nothing, but I still got to get up on that stage, and I got to make people feel like I have something. And there's always something. I'm not understand what I'm saying. Like, but you know when it's bad, right? Worship leaders, right? You know when it's not, and you're like, and I'll tell you why, because Steve will tell you. And he'll just shut it down. I've been in places, oh no, here we go. I'll see him start doing this. I mean, something's about to get shut down. And I love it. I just step back and I'm like, here we go. One of my favorite things is when he goes off. So I called all my worship leaders into my office after a particular Sunday. And I said, I want to apologize to you. I put you at times in an untenable position where you just didn't have something. And I don't even put myself in that place. Like, if I don't have something, I'll just say I don't have anything. Does anybody have anything? But I've required you to have something, whether you have something or not. So I'm not going to do that anymore. So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to have worship unless somebody's inspired by something. It's a word to you. You tell me. And if nobody tells me, then we're not going to do what we call worship or music. So that's how we proceed. And I thought, here we go, there goes music forever. And it didn't, but it at some point I thought, why am I just got this group of people who do music? What if somebody out there has inspired by something? And it can be anything. It can be a dramatic presentation. It can be a dance. It can be anything. That was a mistake. I say that facetiously, but it felt like a mistake at the time because folks started bringing stuff that scared the heck out of me. It started getting more and more weird. Timothy McIntosh brought something one time. It just felt like I recorded it and sent it to people and said, is this demonic? Because this happened in my church last Sunday. And it was Apostle Aaron. He's like, that is amazing. Like that was an ancient sound. That's an ancient sound. But it got so weird. Like I started thinking, we can't have visitors. We can't have visitors here for this. We can't, put people at the door, lock the doors, pull the shades down. This stuff's getting weird. And then there was a Sunday, and things started to get really bizarre. Like, there started to be vocalizations coming in that I had no point of reference in my experience to. People started doing percussive things with their hands, and they were doing things that were spirit, like it was spirit-led, it was spirit-driven, I should say. And it was scary because it wasn't explainable in a natural way. And I went, one Sunday we had an experience like that, and I went home and I was full of dread. I was afraid, and I didn't know why. And I thought, well, I'll see if it goes away. You ever have that, like you feel like something's wrong? Something's really wrong. And then I always go, oh, let's see if it's there tomorrow. If I don't have an understanding or revelation of it. So I woke up the next day, I was on the treadmill, and it was still there. I mean, my stomach I felt like I was going to be sick. And I said, Yahweh, what is this? I don't like it. And he said, you are going to get somebody killed. As long as that back door is open and anybody can walk into the places you guys are going, somebody could get killed. So I called my staff. I said, we need to meet. I said, I'm closing the service down. They said, you're what? I said, I'm closing it down. It's not going to be open to the public anymore. I'll create another service that is, but I feel like I could get somebody. There's holy things that are happening here. There's things that are so sacred that if a person comes in with the wrong attitude or the wrong, the wrong spirit in them, it could be destructive to them. Somebody comes in and wants to enter in for a selfish purpose. It could be harmful to them. And almost everybody up to that point have been with me, like they've qualified to be in that place. And so we shut the service down. We have what we called, at that point we pretty much left off with music, with lyrics, and I was really interested in language. I'll get to that in just a second. Because when we started just kind of interacting with each other in this way, words disappeared. Just weren't there. And but vocalizations were, and instrumentation, other things I talked about, movements. One of the other things we did for like 6 weeks, we just did silence. That was the most difficult thing we did. Like my wife's like, I hate this. Why are you making us do this? I just feel like we're supposed to do this. But now I understand, because silence and quietness are so important to be able to worship sometimes. To just still yourself, still your mind. just rest and be in peace and let something come to you rather than trying to go to something. It opens something up. Very hard. Like we're so busy, we're so active, we're so many. And by the way, that's Babylon. Babylon, this is a bad word, but in proper context, is the bastardized substitute for what Yahweh wants to express to man in the earth and through the earth. So it's increasingly more distracting. I went through the airport a couple days ago. Everybody's doing this. Like the mindfulness of people has almost completely gone away. People don't even have an awareness of other people anymore because they're so caught up in those things. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I've got all of them. I got everything. I'm in everything. I'm in TikTok. I'm in everything. I was like, TikTok, that's stupid. And then somebody showed me. I was like, what is this? That's pretty cool. They got fishing stuff on there, hunting stuff. They got, everything in a minute or less. But I control it. I'll go a week without going on there. But, so I'm not one of those people that throw all this out. I'm saying here's what I tell my people, get outside and above it. It's very simple. Get outside and above it. Political climate in this country, get outside and above it. Racial issues in this country, get outside and above it. I hate it. I hate this divide. But the divide was there before it was revealed. So what kind of people are we going to be? You're going to join a team? You're going to champion something that's less than the experience or the expression of Yahweh in you? Get outside and above and people will come to you because you're different. A little bit preachy there, right? Right, a little bit. Be that difference. Just be it. You don't have to trumpet it. You don't have to wrap yourself in anything. Just be that and people will find you. For the first time in my life, people who have no concept of religious or spiritual things are seeing me and approaching me. And I'm talking about influencers in my community. I'm not going to go into details because I can't, but people who are builders are saying, come up, can you give me your opinion of what I'm doing? I'm like, you don't even know me. But they do because their spirit knows my spirit and they communicate. Like my spirit is out having a chat with somebody else's spirit who I need to build the things I need to build. And by the way, whenever you want to change something, you build something. I've preached that message here, the four craftsmen coming to terrify the four horns, all that stuff. So get outside and above and build something. That's what's going to change. And so that's what I'm about. Like we're building things. I don't have enough. I'm going to live a long time, but I don't have enough to do what I'm going to do. So now I have generations underneath me with my spirit. That spirit knows my spirit. And I am confident that when I move to another dimension, when I've moved on, whatever, that that building is going to go on and on until I'm able to change. You want to change the world? Like I came in here for 20 years screaming at everybody, you can change the earth. You can change the earth. You can change the earth. Well, how? Like how? I'm very practical and nothing else. So if I have a purpose to change the earth, early on I thought, well, I'm going to become famous and I'm going to have a voice and I'm going to speak to hundreds of thousands of people. And when that opportunity presented itself, He always said, don't get on that on-ramp. And there was that legit opportunity. I had written the book. I knew the people. Jack Taylor, who just passed away, one of the most renowned, charismatic speakers and leaders in my lifetime, said, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to be on TV? Are you ready? Let's do this. Yahweh said, no. And if I had done that, I would have wrecked my life. I would have wrecked it. I would have been dead or captaining a vessel catching fish somewhere. Because it would have wrecked me. And there was a point where I think, when I look at that now, I think, and your APTEP is like this too. Like if it's not real, if it's phony, fake, it becomes rancid very quickly. Me most of all. If I'm ever phony or fake or putting on a show, like I hate that expression of me. And we all do it sometimes. And so, you know, I'm 56 years old. I'm like, okay, like I'm looking at the last part, like last half, whatever, last third, however much that is. And I don't have a voice. And I have about 45, 50 people. How do I change the earth? By changing where I'm at. If I can change where I'm at, if I can change where Yahweh sent me, if you can change where you have been planted, then the whole earth can change. It needs to begin somewhere, right? And so, you know, that's going to take building. And by the way, everything that will ever be built out of this house, its blueprints are stored in you. And so I'm just trying to build the things that have blueprints in the people that have been joined to me. And they're all like tone it down. Why do we have to build a whole hospital? What the heck? Like, they have huge blueprints, which take a lot of resources. And I have people coming to me in the community now saying, I would like at some point to partner with you, with what you're doing to provide you with the resources you need to do that. I'm like, you don't even know me. And their spirit's like, come on. Of course I know you. Like, get outside of this. Know each other in a different way. Join yourself to each other in a different way. It changes intercession. And how do I keep veering off into these things? I was trying to give you a history of where we've been and what we've been doing. But let me just try and finish that up, and then I'll have a few more thoughts, and then I'll be done. But let me stop there. Anybody have a question or a comment or a thought? Engage with me a little bit. Right.
So we've been talking about bringing evidence, and what you're doing today is bringing your evidence. And I honor you for that.
Wow.
And it's funny because our journey over the last probably 3 or 4 years has almost been it's been in step, but it's been almost opposite of what yours was. Yours was close the doors. Ours was open them up and welcome people in.
Right.
So, and both were uniquely challenging.
Yeah. And do you see how the problem this would have created if I had soulishly convinced your APTEP to come with me? Like, I'd be like, hey, man, I got a revelation. He said, me too. And I well, who's going to go first? Well, I heard we're supposed to shut it down. Steve, you there? Steve. He'd be like, can we go fishing sometime? I just heard we're supposed to open up, right?
Yeah, I honor you for that, though. It's great.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
I love the Yahweh isn't everything, because I have a spirit of darkness. And so what we've been learning here is about how darkness isn't bad.
No.
Right. And so
we've been learning that same thing exactly recently.
And it's so refreshing because my whole upbringing in religion, I was told I was basically wrong with the way that I felt and the things that I like to express myself with. And so one of the things that I was thinking was, and it just struck me that the things that you're doing in those private places are for Yahweh. He has never felt that expression from any of us. And that's the same way I felt in darkness. That I was the only one who could express that part of Yahweh to him. And he had never had that reciprocated.
Yes.
And so I know that you and your people are doing things that Yahweh has cried out for in the earth that no one else has been able to do.
Right.
And I believe he's calling you to a place to figure out the way to open the doors and still be able to do those things in a practical way. And I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I don't either. You want to come when it happens?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely
bet
will.
you do.
This is my wife, and
Yeah.
we'll, you know what? When you feel like it's time, we'll
Okay.
make a way.
Okay,
and
I
I'll
will.
come.
I will do that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and you're going to stand right next to me and watch.
Sounds great.
Okay.
I'm the guy.
Yeah.
I'm all about that love.
I know you are. But, why do we ignore the scriptures that talk about Yahweh wrapping himself in darkness and coming to the earth? There's a place, and it's all things. He's all things. Find him in it. Okay? I'll do it. Somebody else? Anybody else? That's the challenge, right? That's the challenge. You find Yahweh in the darkness. And I have one of my young men, David McIntosh, just like 8 weeks ago said, I want to understand the dark side of Yahweh. I said, you would, because that's your personality. Of course that's what you want to do. Go, do it. Teach me. Show me what you find out. What's your revelation? But Scripture's full of expressions of Yahweh that's dark. Yeah, Archie.
Thank you. Just real quickly, because me, when I hear things, I try not to. Well, anyway, what I know in me, what rings true in the things that you're saying, is that in our intercession on this past Wednesday, maybe a couple of Wednesdays, our leader, she had a dream that she shared with us, that she was riding and there was 3 and she was 4, fourth person in that car. And in that, though the 3 were having deep conversation, she was not absent from the conversation. She was able to converse with everything that was been said, no matter how deep, how theological, whatever, how spiritual it got. She was a part, and that opened up to me because I realized that there were. I'm a in the beginning guy. I love the beginning because it says so much about who we are. There was, and I saw those 3 as being the same 3 that had a conversation when they said, "Let us create man in our image." And the reason why we can be among those 3 and still have a valid conversation with those, because that's how we were created.
Yes, absolutely.
The things that you are, excuse me, I love this, so this gets sensitive to me.
I love that it's getting sensitive to you.
The things that your house is experiencing. That darkness, oh man, I could talk about the darkness all day. That darkness, that place, because when you understand the darkness, you know that's where Yahweh is. He's in that darkness. That darkness represents a maturity. That darkness represents a purifying. Not only in that darkness represents a revealing of who you are. Not only just who we are, but who Yahweh is in us.
Right.
How ourselves in Yahweh, our purpose, a greater purpose. And I hate to use the word purpose because it's greater than just a purpose. But it's a revealing of who I really am.
Right.
Who Yahweh really is in me. Who we are together. And so the main thing I want to point out is, you talk about Apostle Aaron. I'm glad you brought him up, because I've been really reading and kind of looking into the Friend of Ebner, the book that he just co-wrote with some others. And one of the things that jumped out to me was the Vav, being the Vav. You talked about a portal, and looking in that one that looked into that portal. I feel like it's the one that understands what the other part didn't, because he was looking into man, the man being the valve, being the portal, being the one that connects heaven and earth. And in short, earth was not created for the three. It was created for the fourth, and that was man. And the three can understand heaven, can understand earth, and earth can understand heaven because of man. Because man was created in the image and the likeness of Yahweh. But yet he was made a part of the earth.
Right.
So as man, being in those dark places allows us to recognize the image that we was created in. But yet it also allows that image to recognize what we were made in.
Right.
We are the valve. We are the connection. So everything you do, whether you do it and you lock a door or you open the door and you say, this is it, our spirits connect with others because why? We are the thing that heaven and earth can recognize.
Right.
Without a relationship, without that relationship and being able to go into those dark places, but yet at the same time to be able to walk out and open the door. Heaven never knows earth. Earth never gets a chance to recognize heaven until somebody, and that is us. That's what we were created. That's what we were made to be. We were made to be that connection.
Yes.
And we were made to go into the weirdest places and do the weirdest things that earth would never understand.
Yes.
But yet we were designed to take that weird thing that earth cannot understand and be an interpretation for it.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And man, the human condition is uniquely disconnected from the earth. That is what the earth is crying out for. Because the earth is not fulfilling its purpose, which is to reveal the glory of Yahweh. Think about that. So it's looking for somebody to uniquely interface with it and become connected to it in a way that the purpose of Yahweh begins to be fulfilled in the earth. And, you know, I believe that when Adam and Eve were removed from the garden, they were still connected to the earth in a way that they, even though they now needed to get their sustenance through toil, but I believe that their connectivity and communication was through the earth. And that's what changed at Babel. And that's the third thing. There's Cain, Adam, and Eve, and there's Babel. And I believe what happened at Babel was, it wasn't a change of language or the diversifying of language. I think that's just an effort for us to understand. They write it that way. But I don't believe man used words or a spoken language before that. And I believe the communication was spiritual, and I believe it took place through the earth. And there's all kinds of science behind this, but spoken language, the way we use words, retards your mind. It slows everything down. I don't have a lot of time to get into that, but you're absolutely right. That's what the earth is crying out for. That person, though, has to be so devoid of self, because and I've said this years ago, not really fully understanding it till now. And actually, Sandy Hathaway, when last time I heard her speak at the Rock, gave credit to Apostle Aaron for this, and Aaron looked over at me and smiled. I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't care who this. But obviously I do, because I'm talking about it. It's no big deal. No, I don't. It's funny. That's why I say it. But it's a simple statement that whomever the earth cooperates with wins. I don't even say that anymore. Whomever joins themselves to the earth wins. Think of one thing in the earth, in the whole earth, that can stop a purpose given to you when you're joined to the earth. Tell me something that can stop that. You who live in a place where everything is going to kill you. I watched Steve and Kimberly's dogs yesterday for a little while. because I just wanted to help. I'm like, look, I'm here. Is there anything I can do? And Steve's like, it would really be helpful if you could go spend some time with the dog, because we're going to be gone all day. So I went out there, and Steve's typing me instructions. And he's like, there's these black berries in my backyard. Don't eat them. They will kill you. I wrote back and said, great, just one more thing in your state that's trying to kill me. I landed at the airport the other day, and I get in my car, and what is the first thing they say? The news came on, and the guy's like, we had our first shark attack at New Smyrna today. I'm like, of course you did. It's not a shark, it's a gator, or everything's got poison in it, and snakes. And as I've said here before, when I live in a place that's cold, like 7-8 months out of the year, but it kills everything that's trying to kill me. I'll take the trade-off, okay? Like the alligators and the poisonous spiders and snakes are like, no, it's too cold. I'm like, I'm staying here. So, I don't remember what my point was, but I get off on that tangent a lot. Yes, okay. You have your own mic. Special. Please be inspired right now, okay?
I just had something, and I don't really even know what it means, so I give it to you. But as you were speaking just a few minutes ago, Holy Spirit just brought this up. And he said, challenge him to ask the children. So I don't even know what children you have in your house, but ask them these questions you're asking yourself. Mm-hmm. Because there's something unique that comes from a child's spirit that knows things we don't know. Yes. As adults, whatever we've filtered and experienced and all of that. And I have opportunity to do that a lot because I teach middle school. And you think that would be horrible. It's not. It's wonderful. Sometimes it's horrible, but mostly it's wonderful. And when we've been doing ancient world history, so we talk about prophets, we're talking about the whole gamut. And when I say certain things that I think I know the answer to, like I'm like, oh yeah, let me ask this. The things that they hear in the scripture, in the simple scripture that I've read 100 times, and the questions they ask back to me, I'm always like, oh God. Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't ever try and pretend to know something I don't know. But challenge your children with those spiritual and whatever you have in your house, but their spirits know.
Yes.
They know.
Do. Better than ours.
They do.
Yeah.
And they know answers that you're searching for.
Right.
And so I just say that to you. Maybe you are doing that, but it just came out of my spirit.
We do. And some are more responsive than others. We have some that are incredibly responsive, and they participate in the meditation exercises, and they get crazy stuff. Yeah. They'll draw. I saw this, Apostle. Yeah. And often there's other people who are like, oh my gosh, like I saw that exact same thing. And there's a fable in Judaism and in Muslim what's the right word? I don't know. Anyways, that the angel Gabriel, when a child is about to be born, whispers into its spirit all of the mysteries of the universe and the world. And then the child spends the rest of their life forgetting it. And so I pay a lot of attention to children. Watch the way a child will look at something. They'll see things. Your son, you'll see things. They'll look, and you'll see them. They're staring at something. They're seeing something because they're spirit. But then again, the world system, the Babylonian system, just starts eating away at, because a child is not born with an immature spirit. Their spirit is mature. Their body and the other parts of their mind and their body, the intellect and the soul, are immature. But that spirit is fully mature, and it's growing up the body is growing up around that spirit, or that's the way it should be. So I received that challenge, and it is amazing, and I'm very drawn to those things that come out of a child that I don't understand. I pay attention to them. It's not just gibberish to me. And here's the other thing I tell our kids all the time. If I was in Beth Towb right now, I will say, what is your superpower? And they'll say, my imagination. Yeah. That is what the Western culture has tried to destroy. Whatever happens in your imagination, or the Greeks called it dianoia, that when Paul said, I pray that the eyes of your heart be enlightened so that you may know the hope to which you've been called. That's the word dianoia, which is imagination. It's not used a lot, but it is used maybe 8 or 10 times, that word. And that is the place where spiritual communication comes, is in that place. And so rather than marginalize it, I say pay attention to that, learn, because that's where you hear things. If you get a word, it comes into your imagination. By definition, look up the definition sometime. All right, let me finish this up. You guys have been very patient. I didn't think I was going to go this long. I was thinking maybe 20 minutes. But, so anyways, going back to just our journey, we closed the service down. We started feeling more freedom to just express what our spirit was wanting to express. And then weird things started happening. Unexplainable things started happening. I'll tell you a couple of them. And I may have shared, I don't think I shared this here. I know I brought Steve to show him what we do. And I said, judge it. Did he tell you anything about that? I don't know. Because it's interesting to me to come and see this project out here. Because we were doing whatever we do, and if you were there, you would see people wandering around. Some people are vocalizing, some people are maybe on a drum or whatever, some people are doing art, but there's often similarities if you step back and observe, and you're always welcome to just observe if you're there. If you don't feel like your spirit is wanting to engage or to do something, you can just step back and watch. And sometimes the observation is the craziest thing because you see the macro. You see the things playing out in the room that the individuals aren't even aware of. And that's where things get really spooky. So there was one evening where there was a lot of instrumentation and vocalization. And vocalization usually starts like what you maybe think a sound of a beehive. It's kind of, and then it will, like others will join, and it will be, say, 12 people that are vocalizing. And it syncs up without any orchestration. So that if it goes up like, all 12 are doing it simultaneous. That'll give you chills. Because there is no external orchestration. There is no participation of the intellect in that. It's just spirit-driven. And so after a while of being freaked out by that, which freaked me out, I began to get a little more, okay, this is something. These people are connected in a different level than this natural world. And it's expressing itself in the natural. So there is a night, and it's building, like it's a lot of energy in the room. You know what I'm saying? You know when worship gets going, and sometimes you drop off words, and the instruments are going, and people are dancing, and it's building, right? There's a crescendo happening. And it's building, and all of a sudden, at the exact same second, everything in the room stopped. Everything. Every vocalization, every instrument, every movement, every single thing stopped without anybody orchestrating. Completely, totally impossible. It's hard to do as a musician with external commands, right? Like I'm all the time, like our music people will tell you all the time, if they don't end right, I make them do it again. Like the one little pluck of the guitar or one little, and they're so nervous when they're coming to the end of a song because they know like, am I going to mess this up? And so they mess it up. And I'm like, no, do it again. We got to end this right. And so now we're in this thing, and there's no orchestration. The people are just doing it. And it's so cool because it's just all synced up. It's all one thing happening at that time, and it feels so good. And then it stops. Boom. And you see people stop, freeze in place. And the Michael Ball was on a hand drum, and his hand was halfway to the drum, and he said, my hand stopped moving. I had every intention of hitting that drum, and my hand stopped moving. And I freaked. I said, that's impossible. What just happened is impossible. Except that we are in the same place in the realm of the spirit in that moment. Freaked me out. And I said, let's do this again. Let's do it again. So we did it again, and then it got more intense, and it stopped again. Everybody, 40 people at the same exact thing. Everything stopped again. Well, that's cool, right? But it's experiential. Like, where's the strategic outflow of that? That was great. That was incredible. Like, we all synced up in the spirit, and we stopped at the same time. Where's the strategic value in that? Once you know that you can be connected and interactive with somebody else in that way, it changes everything. So we don't, like, when we intercede with somebody now, we just, like, we'll meditate on them and release our spirit to their spirit and see what happens. We've seen people healed. One of our ladies was very frustrated at work, and she told me, I feel like for a week, like she was in senior management, but she felt stuck. And she said, for a week, I think in the morning, I just want to send my spirit to the CEO's spirit. No agenda. Because I don't know what's right. That's the problem. The intellect and the soul want to tell you what's right. Your spirit knows what's right. So we'll send our spirit to do things that our spirit doesn't want to do. Because it knows what's on the other side of that thing. You think it's a good thing. How many things in life have you been spared from you thought were a good thing and found out later? Right? Was it Garth Brooks that did the song, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers? So I'm just going to release my spirit to interact with his spirit. Like I released my spirit to interact with all of you yesterday, just so you could be more receptive to what I had to say. It was a real chicken move, but I did it anyway. So, so every morning, Monday through Friday, she just meditated. I don't know how long, probably not long, 3-5 minutes. And just meditated on her spirit meeting with his spirit. On that Friday, he said, can I speak to you? Took her in the office. And he said, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I want to promote you all the way up to my number one under me. Wow. Now, it didn't happen logistically, and it wasn't supposed to happen. But what the spirit in communication with others, it created a change. Yeah. Okay? She's not even there anymore. But it created the change, right? So there's just, and we're still learning. I'm not going to go a whole lot further, but we're just constantly learning, and we're going to be back in person. I have a very small room, so COVID has been very dangerous, especially in cold places because people are coming inside. Vermont has done better than almost any state, amazingly so, and that's created all kinds of change. I hope you guys, like, when something like this comes and the whole world is screaming bad, be scared, I hope you guys are looking for opportunities because they are everywhere. Our house, our people have prospered unbelievably. Like, unbelievably. Like, businesses double during the lockdown. I don't even know how it happened, but we are, and I can say this, we are, my house, this house, of a people, when everybody else's heads go down, ours come up. And I know that things are scary and people are dying, and I get all that. And I've often said, like, angels are not a substitute for stupid. So unless you're hearing different, if you can be safe, be safe. I've got 85-year-old parents in my house, So we've been in person, out of person, remote. We do Zoom, and I have a small enough group I can navigate all that. Like, I can do a Zoom meeting that's completely interactive with everybody in my house, every family on there. But we're going back to in person. We're going to be getting back to the we call it worship sessions that we do, and it's going to continue, I think, to develop and expand, and I'll be excited to share with you. But I agree that it's a similar journey in a different way, because our houses are uniquely joined. Because your Aptep and me as an apostle are uniquely joined. In 20 years after everybody said we wouldn't last 3 months, we're still as close as we could be. And like I said, if he needs to come and correct me, I will stand and take it like a man and then tell him he's wrong. But no, well, I might. So I think the takeaway, and I'm wrapping up now. This is me wrapping up. My wife loves it when I wrap up 4 or 5 times. So she's probably watching too. This is a box. But there's a portal. And I believe that portal is, in part, not if in whole, a product of our imagination. It's hard, though, because we want to, not only do we bring Yahweh into the box of our mind, but then we have boxes inside the box that we call theology. And so one of the unique things to me is what I've been talking about most recently is what I call Elohim worship. The all in all, worshiping the all in all. This gets real close to things that I don't want you to hear me saying. But when you begin to understand that the Spirit of Yahweh is in all things, then worship can become your spirit, the Spirit of Yahweh in you, connecting to the Spirit of Yahweh in that thing, and experiencing Yahweh in that expression. So a meditation that I assigned maybe a month ago was I said, I want you to choose something in the earth that you love. And then I want you in your meditation to find the Spirit of Yahweh in that thing that you love. And I want you just to join yourself to it for a little bit. That's worship. And then people come and they share that experience. It's amazing. And I think, this is just me speculating, but I think that's the joining I'm looking for, Archie. Because as I said, man is uniquely disconnected. In all the earth, everything is connected by one spirit except man. And that's a result of Babel. That's a result of the curse from the garden. But just because it's not doesn't mean it can't be. And that's why you get so emotional, right? Yeah. Because something in you longs for that. And something out there longs for you. And you have to be empty of self. And you have to be full of the purpose of Yahweh. Because to enter into that and use it for selfish purposes is unforgivable. That's what Babylon does. So one day I'm hunting and I'm sitting, I don't remember, but I'm sitting on the edge of a field and a deer is walking across the field. And it wasn't something that I was going to harvest. And so I'm just watching it and all of a sudden the click takes place. So now I'm seeing with my spiritual eyes. And what I see is that when the deer's hoofs, is it hoofs? I don't know if that's the right term, but when its feet came off the ground, there was like a plasmatic attachment to the earth. And I'm watching, I'm like, what am I seeing? What is this? And again, this is happening in my imagination. I wasn't expecting it, but now I'm just seeing things from a spirit perspective. But the deer was never disconnected in the spirit. The deer was never disconnected from the earth. It was all one thing. And I've seen other things that just make sense. Like, when a hawk, I saw one day a hawk kill a mouse or something. And I'm seeing this, like I see it almost in a pixelated green. When I see it in the spirit, it's almost a pixelated green kind of thing that I'm seeing. But when the hawk killed the mouse or the rodent, like the life didn't disappear from the mouse, it just transferred. All one thing. And so at some point I said, I want to see what man looks like. And when I saw man's connection, first of all, everything else that was filled with green or the Spirit of Yahweh in the earth was only like a single pixel in man, the man I saw. Like one little thing. But the man, there wasn't that connection to the earth. And that is what I'm after, is that connection, Archie, that you're talking about. And I believe understanding that the Spirit of Yahweh in you, I'm not worshiping a tree, ever, never. I'm not, I won't do that. I'm not doing that. But I am recognizing that there is Spirit in that tree. Okay? So one day the assigned meditation, as I started to say a minute ago, was find something you love and connect with it. And so I thought, I love Cold River. I fish in it, I swim in it. It's gorgeous, such a gorgeous river. And just Vermont, it's just like Vermont. And so I set my mind to meditate on that river. And when I did, I heard, really? You really, that's your first, really? And I realized all the nuance in that river. Like, you're going to take that on? You're going to try and connect with the Spirit of Yahweh in what? The rocks or the insects on the trout that's behind that thing or the leaf that's floating by? And oh, by the way, the water that was here a second ago is gone now. So you want to do that? I said, okay, give me a puddle. I'll do a puddle. Right? And so, you know, for that moment, those few moments, there's a spiritual thing that takes place that involves the earth. If I can do that, and there's so much that opens up, so much possibility. And by the way, the next week I said, okay, now find something you hate in the earth, and I want you to meditate on that. That was amazing. Because all of a sudden, when somebody joined themselves just by spirit to that, the spirit of Yahweh and the thing they hated in the earth, for me it was nettles. I don't like nettles. You guys know what nettles are? I've always thought they're like the spawn of, like the plant that Satan spawned, because they have little hairs that when you brush up against them, burn and then itch, and you can't. But you know, when I started talking about my meditation, people are going, hold on, Apostle. Did you know that next to the nettle, and this is in braiding sweetgrass, there's a plant that grows right next to the nettle that will take away that stinging and burning if you'll just pick it and rub it on. And in braiding sweetgrass, she points out that almost everywhere there's something that we see as negative, right next to it, something is growing that will offset that. But what happened is it changed perspective. Something that, what, I'm a man, I'm arrogant, I'm here to do my thing. I don't like that, right? Yeah. So let's burn it, let's destroy it, let's get rid of it. Instead, you stop for a minute and say, no, there's something of Yahweh in that. I'm going to find it because I'm that person. All right, I think I'm done. I'm going to listen if anybody else has anything, and then I probably won't be done. But
it was so profound that you're saying that know me. You're saying get to know each other. Mm-hmm. So I want to give credit to Bishop Elroy Ben that he had taught us to knowing each other in the spirit. And when you talk about getting to know, and you talk so much about the spirit, and obviously the word of God tells us that man is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. You know, we are so bent on getting to know each other. We want to buddy up and friends. But it's so much bigger when we get to know each other in the spirit. We have more growth.
Absolutely.
We have more prosperity.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. Anybody else? Right back here. Archie, well, I'll just let you. Over here, never mind. Pac-Man, what's that? I'm too young.
Yeah, I don't. So I do a lot of research into like the spirituality stuff too, and most of it that you find is gonna tell you, like that it's a satanic practice. And it was interesting because I have a friend that I'm in school with, and I was literally telling her, and I have a very basic understanding of Kabbalah. And I know a lot of evil people do it too, but, you know, twist it.
It can be used for all kinds of things. Sure.
And so I was literally telling her, hey, you know, like we were talking about, because she's 19, she's trying to save herself. So I was trying to pump that up, you know. So I was telling her, you know, you have to like embrace that femininity and let him embrace the masculinity, because they're two sides of Yahweh. And then when you become one, you're expressing the full version of Yahweh, right? And she's like, well, that's weird. What other weird things do you believe in? And I was like, well, I just think that he's an infinite God and he created everything. So every piece of him is inside of everything. You just have to find it. And then you get up here and you literally just said that. And then I'm thinking, that's Kabbalah. I'm going to hell. So I'm telling my wife, I'm like arguing. I'm like battling with it in my mind. And then, I don't know, you probably noticed me. I was like crying like a baby, because when he tries to get me to understand something, it's like he's gripping right here. Yeah. And I get nauseous. And like I almost passed out. Wow. Because he was like, this is a key. You need this. Like you need to understand the world around you, because I'm obsessed with the mysteries of creation too. Sure. And just all of this stuff is like, it's like mind-blowing stuff, because we live in a very limited capacity, And
That's a great way to
we're
say
going to
that.
go, most people are going to go their entire lives without ever understanding what they were originally designed to be.
Yeah.
So just
That's-
confirmation that this stuff is awesome, and
Yeah.
you should look it up.
I love that. I love that you said we live in a very limited capacity. That's a great statement. That's a great way to say that, because that's true of the human condition, but it's especially true of the religious human condition. And so, things that I have been told were demonic my whole life, some of it is. And like you said, you can use Scripture in a demonic way. So, it's a matter of navigating by the Spirit of Yahweh and your spirit. And I want to know what people who were engaged with the Spirit of Yahweh were saying in ancient times, and what their experience. Some of it I just throw out, but some of it resonates. Some of it grabs me, like what you're talking about, like the thing of Yahweh in all things. So, thank you. Yes.
First of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for saying everything that you had said today.
Thank you for thanking me.
Because
Thank you.
I have changed to different churches, and I've been following online for about 2 years. And I have not really committed completely here yet, and not known absolutely everyone, but I know my spirit has. And it knew to be here.
Yeah.
But then when you were talking about nature, I go to Riverwalk and walk there, and I find that place absolutely beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Lord, you made it so beautiful, and I love the water, and I love the way everything is. I love the flowers. I just love coming here, Lord. And then I just kept thanking him for Riverwalk, because I just thought it was so beautiful, and it was so sunny, and it was bright. And he said, purchased and bought by the blood of Jesus. And I said, Lord Jesus, thank you. I'm so thankful, because I said, how could people make something like this, and it made it so beautiful, because I just kept talking and talking and talking and thanking. But then when you mentioned nature, it's like that. It reminded me of that,
Right.
Everything was purchased and bought by the blood of Jesus.
Yeah, that's a worship experience, right? That gratitude, that sense of wonderment. Wonderment maybe is one of the most incredible expressions of worship that there is. And again, you see it in children, but we lose it as we get older. That sense where you just stop and you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Anybody else? Thank you guys for having me back and receiving me the way that you do. Like I said, I was just so moved by your love and so appreciative. I just feel like when I'm here, I'm in my other home. And I guess, after coming out of the place I've been into a more public place and trying to figure out what to even say or how to say it, this is exactly the right place for me to come to. And, religion hates questions. And this is a place that constantly questions everything, starting from your aptep on down. And Steve will say to me sometimes, I'm never doing this again. And I said, and that statement alone ensures you are. Because that's Steve. He's going to keep kicking things. That's why he hates chairs, They're too static for him. They're not fluid enough. And so I get it. But I didn't know what to expect. I was very nervous about this. One, just not having done it, not stood up in front of a group of people in that long and tried to express something. And, I expressed that to Steve. He said, my people love you. And I was talking to my mom, not my mom, Jesus. My wife, Lord help me. Can I stay? And she just kept saying, they love you. Like, just be you. Just be you. Don't try and be something else. Just be you. And you've allowed me to do that. And I'm very, very grateful. So,
Well, we love you, sir. I just want to give you a hug.
thank you.
Well, that was awesome. Apostle Jim, we honor you, sir, for who you are, for the brother you are to this house, for being the well that you were today and overflowing. And there was so much living water and life in what you said, and we buy it up. We don't take it lightly. And I honor this house for receiving and receiving well. And I bless you guys as you go in your day. And be blessed unto the King. Amen.